Okay, let me announce the speakers tonight. We've actually got three, so no particular one will feel particularly ganged up on about some when we get to the question and answer session. First of all, we're going to have Debra Wright. She's a real estate broker and co-owner of Century 21 First Group. This Century 21 First Group that she co-owns is the top producing Century 21 in East Texas. She's married to Frank Wright, a local builder, and has 4 children and 8 grandchildren. And she grew up on a dairy here in Hopkins County, so she's a local lady. She's actively participated in the area real estate during the last 20 years and knows the local area real estate market probably better than anyone around here. She has offices in several counties, so she's an entrepreneur. She's also been active in the community. She's the past president of the Dial Study Club, the Sulphur Springs Woman Tennis Association, the East Texas Brokers Council, and a charter member and president of the Blue Bonnet Garden Club. There's a lot here, but I guess, so I won't take up her time. I would like to introduce Debra Wright. She's going to talk to us about the real estate trends and Washington's viewpoint on what's going on in the real estate industry. So please welcome Debra Wright.
Thank you very much for asking me to come tonight to speak with y'all. First of all, I'm going to give you a real quick, brief history of real estate in Hopkins County. Prior to the 1950s, it was a totally different world than it is here today. And the reason being was if you had land in the north of the county, you had a good clay-based soil with minerals that you could run a few cows out there and you could grow cotton. To the south, you grew sweet potatoes, watermelon, because you had the sand. The land to the north was worth more. Cotton was king, and it had more money. But 2 things happened after the Depression era during World War II, leading up to the 50s. And one of the things that happened was they developed irrigation in West Texas. And by doing so, the cotton started going west. The other thing that happened was probably people don't think of it because when you think of the dairies coming in that changed our world in the 50s, the mid-50s or so, was the development of the hybrid coastal Bermuda, because that land that was only growing sweet potatoes and watermelon and truck farming was now able to have improved pasture and be able to bring in the grade A dairies. So that made a big difference. So part of the reason the dairies came in was the development of coastal Bermuda, which was very interesting because all of a sudden the land started switching in prices. Today, it's kind of even back out a little bit because as everything, the dairies, we still have a lot of dairies, but we don't, a lot of milk production, but we don't have the number of dairies that we had in, say, the 60s and 70s. So it kind of changed our world, and it's real interesting to go back and watch the history and see what's happened in Hopkins County. So with that said, I'm going to give y'all a little bit of information, and then we're going to talk about it. And this is a snapshot of it. It's about 4-something this afternoon of Hopkins County and what's going on in the real estate world in Hopkins County. Y'all can pass this down. As of about 4 o'clock this afternoon, we had 496 active listings for $125,214,514. Of those, there were 234 active residential listings, 6 active multifamily listings, 78 active vacant land under 2 acres, so you're pulling in your lots, 134 active vacant land over 2 acres, and 44 active commercial listings. Now down at the bottom is a snapshot of 6 months. The industry, the best way that the industry knows what is something worth. It's worth what someone's willing to give and someone's willing to sell it for. But the only way the industry knows to really do this is to show what the market has allowed over the last 6 months for similar properties. If you look at the past 6 months from today backwards, there's been 244 sides in Hopkins County or 122 properties that closed. Now that's including residential, all vacant land, commercial, multifamily, with an average price of $115,485, with the average days on market 97. Now drop down. Same 6 months, same windows, same days last year. 322 sides, or 161 properties sold for $39,500,682, with an average price of $122,673, with an average days on market of 100. Now, what does this tell us? First of all, you're going to look at that and you're going to say the market's down. Yes, the market is down. But why is the market down? The market is down, but it's not down. In fact, our company is actually up. We have sold more this year than we did last year. What's happened is, look at your average price. It's $115,485, $122,673. That's because we're selling a lot more of the lower end properties right now. And really, I'm surprised that there's not a bigger gap there. But the reason it's only down that much, because that's not much at all in the whole scope of things, because that pulls in everything across the board, is because the people that are buying today are the people that are first-time home buyers because of the stimulus package, or they're investors that are buying rental property, because we have a lot of renters out there right now because subprime went away. Subprime is the huge thing that's causing this gap, this difference, because the other thing is the money that's available right now. You have a lot more people buying the lower end because they can afford to buy it. The upper end has shut down. Anything over, I'm going to say $150,000 in our area has very slowed down. The rest hasn't. But a lot of land is selling. People that have money that were putting it in the stock market, right now they're not putting it in the stock market. They're afraid. I mean, everybody can look at anything they have invested in the stock market right now. It's too volatile. The other thing is, historically, real estate's always going to appreciate, at least not depreciate unless it's a special case. So it's a safe place to put money when there's not improvements, so you don't get taxed that much. So we're selling a lot of land. We're selling a lot of investment property. We're even selling a lot of these foreclosures, and we're not really hit with foreclosures like a lot of the other areas are. But the available money is what's hurting, in my opinion, the entire economy right now, because not only is the money's out there, and the criteria needed to be tightened up. That pendulum swings because subprime had just gotten out of hand. If you had a mirror and you could breathe and fog it up, they were giving you a house 2 years ago. I mean, I'm sorry, they were. Today, that's different. They tightened it up, which they needed to. But on the other hand, it's the big premium mortgage insurance companies, or that are the PMI companies. You can't get insurance. You can't get insurance to insure those loans now. So basically, if you've got 20% to put down, I used to laugh and call this the Danny Faulkner thing. Do y'all all remember when Danny Faulkner built all the, when I first started selling real estate, the best way I knew to explain to a buyer why they had to pay PMI insurance was, if you had 20% to put down, then you were fine. You were a good risk. If you had less than 20% to put down, then you had to pay PMI. And the reason being was, back pre-80s, back during those days, early 80s, they were doing all that development over in Rockwall that you see now. What happened was the appraisers and the developers and all these people were kind of taking care of each other, and a property may be appraised at a value that they were getting 115, 100%, 120% loan on it because of the way it was all happening. What happened was the savings and loans and all started going down. Everybody knows what happens. Interest rates were going up. It was a terrible time in real estate. So the government decided, okay, how are we going to get the average guy over here to get the American dream and buy his house, because nobody has 20% to put down. So basically they said, private lender, you go loan that money. That difference of that money will be insured. If we have to foreclose, pay the difference down to that 80%, and then everybody's going to be happy, because your risk is going to be less. And it worked really great, and it worked good up until subprime took over in the last 2 or 3 years, and people were buying houses that should not have been buying houses. They just should never. I mean, there's always a need for renters, and it's part of the economy, and it's part of everything that happens.